I know food was very difficult to digest, right? And hopefully, I mean, interesting things are coming up. So what is Xnotes basically? I mean, we have to go through this 2 minutes presentation. It's a blockchain technology, but it's much more than that. I mean, we're not Bitcoin. I'm in front of bankers. I mean, you might think I'm coming all the way through, from Hong Kong to disrupt you guys. No, I came in peace actually, and I'm not going to show just a Bitcoin transaction. All right. So blockchain technology at Xnotes is very different because we're catering for enterprise-grade applications. So we're dealing with corporations exclusively. So we are a revenue-generating company, by the way. So what is it basically? Many of you heard about blockchain, probably. Now, Bitcoin is what it is. It's a blockchain distributed ledger, so it means a distributed database. And on top of this, we have a very important thing, which is called the consensus protocol. And then on top of that, there's another technology called Ethereum, who have created some kind of data orchestration somehow. Like, anyone heard about smart contract? This is what they went for. That's novelty in Ethereum. So what we did on the top of that, and in order to cater for corporations, we need just more than that. I mean, have you seen any corporate applications of those now traditional blockchain technology? Well, we're actually the first who have created fundamental business components as utilities. Things, for example, like KYC, for example. So we're running a beta test on KYC. We also have a collateral management system, so that is part of of the development kit itself. So we have a workflow modeling with permission, so it's a permission blockchain. So actually we built everything that is required in order to cater for business applications. I spent 16 years working for SAP, so I know what it is when it comes to corporate applications, right? So. And in a nutshell, Xnotes is very different from others because we're configurable. So if you take Bitcoin, for example, you only have Bitcoins on the network. Well, here we have multiple assets, for example, multiple ledgers. So corporations are able to create their own assets. And that is something that, the reason why corporations love us very much is because we have workflow models. So we model workflows in the same way as you guys are used to. And we apply it to the blockchain, on top of a blockchain. So this is what is required in order to build a business application. Actually, our value proposition here is to accelerate the development of blockchain-enabled enterprise applications. So, and I'm going to show you a very simple use case today, which is a use case that is very, very complicated, actually, but I'm trying to make it comprehensible. For you guys. So let's say, well, what is a transaction basically? I didn't come all the way through, from Hong Kong just to show a simple transaction like this on Bitcoin, right? So you guys know about it, and the reason why it's alright is because everything is verified by all nodes. You don't have any intermediaries at all. Now, we're not interested so much in simple transaction. Actually, we're interested in so much about what's going on behind the scenes, even before this transaction happens. In a business world, you would have a buyer and a seller, for example, and the cash actually, well, the money that is flowing from the buyer to the seller is actually something related to a service or commodity or an asset or somehow, right? But in order to do that, I mean, they need to produce. The seller needs to produce. Go through all the way through a lot of intermediaries. I mean, you can't just bypass those intermediaries. Those third parties are very important to the two parties who are doing business. So on top of that, you have a lot of documents. And that's very interesting. Insurances, banks, I mean, you guys are still useful in the process, of course, and this is what I'm going to show. And more importantly, and equally importantly, regulators. So we also working with some regulators in Hong Kong. I mean, just in order to create the ecosystem we want to create. So it's actually a blockchain based on trust. So we want to orchestrate all of this, including all the documents that are generated in the course of that sophisticated transaction. And we do it in a very simple way, and in a very private way too. Like the red areas you can see shows private areas where nobody can I mean, the data of the buyers and the sellers are not exposed to the world, if you will. So it's not just like in Bitcoin, where everything is exposed to everyone. We do it differently. So let's go for a trade finance walkthrough. So let's say we're at a bank right now. So pay attention to the corner here. we're at a bank, and we're going to change parties later on. So now, at a bank, we received a request to create a letter of credit, let's say. So I'm going to go and I'm a clerk, and I'm going to create a letter of credit. Of course, this is pre-filled, so you can see information about the contract itself. So pay attention to the contract number here. It's A-B-A-D. So I'm a blank clerk, and I'm going to create it. Among all others, all other documents, I have a letter of credit created here. Now, what's happening on the other side? I mean, on the exporter side, there would be notification sent. The notification will show a letter of credit that is pending for validation. So at the exporter side, so let's say I'm at internet banking on my bank, and I receive this notification, and I can see I have a couple of requirements to fulfill. Things like uploading a document, just to make sure that the deal is not fake between between my customer and myself. I would upload the document, validate the first requirement, validate the second requirement as well, and this is it. And on the other side, there's also a requirement from the importer too, to make sure that both of us agree on. So the internet's a bit slow, sorry. So I do the same thing. I validate it if I'm the importer. So the letter of credit is generated after this. And after this, going back to the bank, we see the contract adhered. So we have to go through all this way, generating documents, signing documents, so you don't even see what's going on behind, because everything would have been digitally signed and put on a blockchain. So we need to go through all those steps before we complete it. So the next step would be obviously creating an escrow, right? On the importer side, there's still actions to be done. I would have to validate, in a way, the escrow. Right. So just to let you know, so you see all the steps over here? This application is being beta tested by 2 banks currently. So I actually focus, it's part of a wider demo, which is actually cross-enterprise exchanges on blockchain. So if you guys want to see this on our website, you're welcome to sign up on the website. There will be a page that will be coming live in April the 11th. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much.
Attention.